My fresh apple spice cake is amazing, but it's the rum-soaked raisins that put it right over the top. So I'm starting with raisins, 1 cup of raisins, and instead of regular raisins, I'm using golden raisins. I think they're a little sweeter, and they're gonna look great in the cake. I'm adding half a cup of dark rum, and I use dark rum instead of regular white rum because it's got sort of like a caramelly flavor, and it'll be great with the apples. I'm gonna pour it over the raisins. Now what I'm gonna do to make them all taste better, I'm gonna microwave them so the raisins plump up and the rum gets into the raisins. 60 seconds. Okay, let's make the cake. So the cake starts with 1 cup of sugar, granulated sugar, and 1 cup of dark brown sugar. 3 eggs, extra large eggs, and instead of butter, I'm using oil because it keeps it really moist. 3/4 of a cup of vegetable oil. You want some kind of flavorless oil for this. Okay, 2 teaspoons of vanilla. So of course, I love vanilla. And 2 teaspoons of freshly grated orange zest. Just think of all these, raisins are ready. Just think how all these flavors are so delicious together with apple. Okay, then turn this on and beat it for about 3 minutes until it's light and fluffy. Okay, next the dry ingredients. So I've got a bowl and a sifter. I always like to do the dry ingredients in a sifter. 2½ cups of all-purpose flour. The sifter is a great way to mix everything and make sure it's really smooth. 2 teaspoons of baking powder. 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, really good cinnamon. Okay, half a teaspoon of ground nutmeg. Half a teaspoon of ground ginger. Next is cloves. Cloves are really strong, so I'm just gonna do 1/8 of a teaspoon, just a little bit. And half a teaspoon of salt. Okay, so that's the flour and the spices. I'm just gonna sift them all together. This smells great. And see, anything that's in the sifter, just wanna make sure it goes through. Okay, so now, I'm just gonna turn this to low and just very slowly add the dry ingredients to the wet ingredients. When I had Barefoot Contessa, we used to have all kinds of cakes like this out on the bakery counter. And you could come and buy a whole cake, but you could also buy a piece. It's not fancy, just really delicious and earthy. And you always want to come back for more. Okay, that's the dry ingredients. Now I'm just gonna give it a big stir with a spatula just to make sure it's really well mixed from the bottom and the sides. Now I'm gonna add some really good stuff. First, the raisins, and I have to drain them. The smell of the raisins and the rum is fantastic. So I'm just gonna drain the raisins. Next, I have some pecans that I've toasted. It's 1 cup of pecans, chopped. I just toasted them for about 5 to 10 minutes, 350 degrees, just to crisp them up and bring out the flavor. I want everything to taste as good as it can possibly be. And then 1½ pounds of Granny Smith apples that have been peeled, cored, and 1/4 inch diced. So I'm just gonna fold these together, make sure everything's really well folded in, because you want every bite to have raisins, pecans, and apples in it. And the good thing is, you can make it ahead. It only gets better. Okay, so instead of making a round cake or a loaf cake, I'm gonna make a rectangular cake. And this pan, I've greased it, I've put parchment paper in, and then greased and floured the pan. I wanna make sure it comes out of the pan. I'm just gonna pour the whole batter in. Look how good this looks. Isn't that crazy? You can really see how all the flavors of the raisins and the apples and pecans are gonna make this fantastic. Okay, I'm just gonna spread this out. Look how thick it is. I have to say, I can smell the rum. Okay, ready for the oven. I'm gonna bake the cake at 350 degrees for 35 minutes. When the time's up, I'll take it out, let it cool in the pan, then I'll flip it out onto my hand, carefully remove the parchment paper, place it on a board, and cut it in big squares. That looks amazing, doesn't it? And with a cup of tea in the afternoon, it's a perfect snack. But if you want to make a great dessert out of it, I'll show you what I do. So I'm gonna take a piece of the cake, put it on a big plate, a little more dramatic. Some vanilla ice cream. I actually took it out of the freezer, put it into the fridge for about 30 minutes so it's nice and softened. And not to leave well enough alone, I have some warm caramel sauce. store-bought. You don't have to make your own caramel sauce. And a drizzle of caramel sauce on the cake and the plate. Very restaurant style, but so easy to do. And I would say that's a dessert that everybody is going to be very happy to try, including me. I may have to try it just to make sure it's good. How great is that? Love all the flavors and the textures. Cold ice cream, warm cake, caramel sauce. No, that's my kind of dessert. So good.